cold chain industry has exempted spectacular growth over the last year. World has felt the need of an unbroken cold chain like never before when the COVID pandemic struck us, and it indeed has given a much-needed push to the cold chain segment. The global cold chain market, estimated at $185 billion in 2019, is expected to reach $585 billion by 2026, growing at a CAGR of 17%. Speaking of the Indian cold chain industry, which is currently at 33,000 crores, is expected to reach 42,000 crores by 2022 at a rate of 13 to 15%. Hi, and a very warm welcome, everyone. I am Kadri Rana, and I am delighted to welcome you all to the pre-launch show of Agility India's flagship event, Unbroken Cold Chain 2021, the 4th edition. The Unbroken Cold Chain is a thought leadership event hosted by Agility every year. UBCC 2020, which was hosted in Hyderabad early February last year, saw supply chain professionals from different verticals, especially pharma and perishable, come together to ideate a solution to secure the end-to-end supply chain. This year, UBCC 2021 will be different from the previous editions in many ways, and one of it will be in the way we connect. As COVID takes a big leap from being an epidemic in China to being a pandemic, Agility leverages technology to replicate the success of its previous editions of the event series. Now, before we set the tone for UBCC 2021, I would like you all to have a blast from the past, a glimpse of UBCC 2020. As the increasing need for refrigeration from healthcare, food, and perishables drive the growth of cold chain market, this year's event will bring together supply chain experts from segments like food, life sciences, and perishables to share their perspective and gather actionable insights, which can be addressed via collaborative approach to creating an unbroken cold chain. Let's take a glimpse of UBCC 2021.
"2020 was an unusual year. "2020 was an unusual year. It started with a lot of hope and expectations. But soon COVID-19 changed everything. The way we work. The way we meet each other. New routines were developed. And new heroes emerged. It transformed supply chains. Cargo started getting more priority. And life sciences got its due recognition. 2021 is the year for Unbroken Cold Chain. COVID-19 vaccines are being shipped across the globe. Temp-controlled storage capacities are being ramped up. Airlines have started increasing their cargo capacities for pharmaceuticals. Join us on 8 and 9th July for UBCC 2021, a thought leadership event. For webinar sessions on overcoming challenges in the COVID-19 supply chain for India. Important role of hub airports in transshipment of vaccine. Selection of right packaging, cutting waste and optimizing space for cold chain. Power of collaboration, all logistics stakeholders committed to one goal. To register and attend, visit www.ubcc.in.
We are delighted to have senior logistics industry experts joining us today at this pre-launch show. So let's welcome them. Joining us is Mr. BVR Vijay Bhaskar, Manufacturing and Supply Lead, Pfizer. Hello, sir. Then we have Mr. Ravi Kumar Tummalapalli, Head of Logistics, APAC, Japan and China, TEVA Pharma. Welcome to the show, sir. Then Mr. Julian Sutch, Head of Global Sales, Pharma, Emirates, SkyCargo. Hello, sir. Next, we have Mr. Tushar Jani, who's the Group Chairman, Cargo Service Center. Welcome to the show, sir. Next is Mr. Saurabh Kumar, CEO, GMR Hyderabad Air Cargo. Hello, sir. Next is Mr. Vijay Sharma, Head Cargo, Delhi International Airport. Hello, sir.
Hello.
We welcome all our guests to this pre-launch event. Now, to take this event forward, I would like to welcome our host for today, Mr. Satish Lakkaraju, Chief Commercial Officer, Agility. Mr. Lakkaraju, hi sir. Mr. Lakkaraju has demonstrated history of working in the logistics and supply chain industry. He is a strong sales professional skilled in negotiation, import and export, operation management, air and ocean fleet, custom clearance, and sales and marketing. He's passionate about life sciences and patient safety, and often addresses his thoughts and views at various forums in India and overseas on various subjects like unbroken cold chain, infrastructure at airports for cargo handling for pharma, perishable exports, and much more. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Logistics Insider was also the official media partner of UBCC's previous edition, where we got a chance to interview Mr. Satish. So prior to moving on to UBCC 2021's theme, I would like you all to have a look at Mr. Lakkaraju's event taken in Hyderabad at UBCC 2020.
Hi, this is Kavirana from Logistics Insiders, and joining me today is Mr. Satish Lakkaraju, who's the Chief Commercial Officer of Agility. We welcome you here, sir.
Thank you so much.
We'll start with the questions. Sir, my first question to you is, what does this event, Unbroken Cold Chain, holds for the industry?
I think this is an event which is so different from all the events that happen across the globe, not in specific to India, because any other event is normally managed by some agency or the other, and not the logistics player himself taking the initiative to run an event. And why we do this is that we've realized that the most of the conferences that we attend, we don't get industry initiatives addressed as per our requirement, and they're not taken up with the governments and the rest of them. So having understood the needs of the pharmaceutical industry, 4 years ago we started taking up initiatives one after the other with the X-ray machine issues, packaging solutions, and as a process this event has grown leaps and bounds, and as you can see, 22 countries participating with 300 delegates with over 15 detailed presentations giving insight into the handling of the pharmaceuticals, and also we've added the perishable track this year to address the farmer issues in this country, more specifically to see what we can do for the unorganized sector really.
So Satish sir, last year the UBCC 2020 became a big success and had a pocket full of insights from the industry and for the industry. What will UBCC 2021 hold for the industry And in what ways is it going to be different from the previous edition?
Thank you, Karvi, for asking an important question on UBCC 2021. As you can see that it was always a physical event, and while I'm speaking, I'm fortunately in Hyderabad, speaking from the same venue from where we had hosted our previous events. And what is so different is that it was always a challenge in the previous events for us to have more than 200 to 300 participants to be accommodated into the hall where we were doing, because we did not expect the response to be so much. So this year, since we are going virtual, what it basically does is gives an opportunity for participation across the globe, and which means the time zones also are being taken in mind, because we know someone from Australia or someone from the US will want to be participate. So we've decided that we will split it over 2 days with 4 panel sessions with specific industry issues which are very relevant to the current ongoing pandemic and what India has been able to manufacture in supply chain. Goal of the hub specifically hub transport. Then we know that in transportation of vaccines, currently packaging is a very important. And lastly, the industry is together in this very important situation that we all are together. So the power of collaboration of getting stakeholders together will also be shown. So I think it's a very exciting event of this time. You will see that as against a lot of the other events in the pre-launch, we tend to understand and give more expectations so we can take the event forward.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I would request you to take over the stage.
Thank you so much, Karvi. My pleasure to have all the guests, and I will go in the sequence in which you have introduced, so that I will start with Mr. Vijay Bhaskar. So if you can have Mr. Vijay Bhaskar on the screen, it will be my pleasure.
Hello, Satish. Morning.
Very good afternoon, Mr. Vijay Bhaskar. Pleasure to have you on our event once again. I know
Thank you.
we started in a small way many years ago, and you've been participating in our event. So your impressions about the past events you have shared even in the past, but I think it will be good for you and the audience to give your impressions of the past events as well the expectations from the current events.
Thank you, Satish. Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, First of all, I always congratulate, and then I would like to really take this opportunity to congratulate again Agility and the Logistics Insider for providing us this opportunity to come together and share our views, get to know from various industry experts what is happening in the industry, what are the new developments, may it be in terms of the infrastructure or may it be in terms of the technology advancement. It always has also given us an opportunity to see how our other friends in the industry are doing, what are the new takeaways that we can take to improve our end-to-end supply chain efficiencies. Like one of my friends in the industry said that within our organizations we have set processes and procedures, and we do the impact assessment at every stage of the cold chain supply, uh, starting from the consignment leaves from the factory till it reaches the destination. Having said that, the UBCC platform has always given us an opportunity to see clearly from at each step how they are actually improving, how they are helping us, both in terms of delivering the goods in a very safe condition. At the same time, also the kind of value add that they are trying to bring in as an ongoing process through a continuous improvement. Uh, Coming to the next part of your question, Satish, on the expectations, I would certainly like to give the latest example. One of my friends from the service providing industry has sent me a wonderful picture, and that says that his wife wanted the most expensive and the exclusive dinner in the city. So he has taken her to a container freight station where they were having the dinner table on the pile of the containers, and he was showing with the new rate increase, this is the most expensive and the exclusive dinner that he can offer. So from the customer perspective, we are certainly looking forward to see how how are we going to really address this challenge. I know it's not an easy one for any one of us in the supply chain, the cold chain process. So we all have to come together to understand how can we really support one another to address this challenge. That would be my prime focus in the UBCC event, Satish. Second is yes, with the new demand that's coming for with respect to the infrastructure and the cold chain aspects of the product delivery. Possibly the most hot topic would be the vaccine delivery or the products related to that, and also the supply impacts that we have been really experiencing. Because a lot of our vendors are also diverting their capacities for and then prioritizing the COVID related or the vaccine related deliveries. So how the industry is really reacting to that and how we can really help one another in this challenging situation. I would be really looking forward to that. Thank you, Satish.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vijay Bhaskar. I think the 4 points that you touch are very, very critical, and we will do everything possible during the event to address those. And so I've made note of it, and so we will speak to the moderators to get them addressed as well. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kavi, I would now like to address the question to Mr. Ravi Kumar Tummalapalli. So if we can have Mr. Ravi Kumar Tummalapalli on the screen. Ravi, pleasure to have you on our event once again. You've been a moderator also in the past for our event. You've always volunteered to, help us out in building this event to this level. So I thought it was very appropriate to really ask you, what is that big thing that you want us to take up as an industry initiative? Because, like we said, we understand the packaging part of it. We've spoken about the X-ray machines in the past. Thanks to the Indian airports for setting up pharma zones. But what is that one thing that we all should be taking up as an industry initiative in the coming years?
Satish, thanks a lot for having me here, and I'm really happy to be part of this event year on year. And this year definitely is a little different from what we had in the past, where we had physical meetings. But nonetheless, it gives an opportunity for more wider audience to be part of it. Anywhere, they can join the event from anywhere of the world. There are always positives. When we have a good intention in mind, things would always fall in place. I believe in that very much. And as you said, being a part of this event for so many years, I see things have graduated so much. We were harping upon cold chain facilities. We were harping upon handling facilities at the airport. We were harping upon bad roads, visibility of the shipments. So many things we were harping upon, not very far, but I think in last 2-3 years also we have been talking about it. Thanks to the initiatives of the government, thanks to the support which has come in all the way from all big airports, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bombay, we hardly hear about any of these nuances now. So I think all these things are behind us in a very short period, which is really heartening to see how the industry is coming up to meet these challenges. Said that when we are talking about what are the challenges which we need to look forward for and address them, it was very difficult for me to pen down a couple of them, particularly because in the last 2 years of the pandemic, though the world has gone through the pandemic, but this was the time where we saw digitalization happening at a faster pace. We saw cold chain facilities being setting up at a faster pace. We saw huge volume of vaccines being developed and distributed across the world in a faster pace. So things have things have caught up to the pace so much that probably what we have done in the last 1 year period in the regular course of time would have taken about 5 years time. So,
Yes.
so I think given that pace, probably we continue with the same pace even after things get under control. Then some of the things which we will have to really focus from a policy making point of view is how are we going to set up the global supply chains, which would benefit Indian manufacturers, make in India theme, and bring in those competitiveness for the API manufacturers, for R&D facilities within the country, is one of the major big thing which the government has to start focusing on in terms of policy making. One. Second is basically, we already talked about ocean freight stabilization. Until unless the air freight capacities come back to the level at which we had before the pandemic, I think ocean freight stabilization is not going to happen. And then, we are not going to balance the air and ocean freights until unless the capacity comes back. One, which is very important for the industry. Third one is the last mile. So we have greatly improved on the international freight, international supply chains, visibility, handling, etc. But a country like in India, or most of the APAC countries or most of the African countries, the last mile is still a very big challenge. So probably we might have to drill down a little bit more and then see how we can build connections, how we can build distribution systems until the vaccines or the medicines reach the end customer, who is the patient, is going to be the next big challenge, which I foresee at least in the next couple of years. This should be the theme for us all together as an industry to address.
Thank you, Ravi. I think you touched upon very important aspects. One is policy and decision making. We know that the government is looking at it much seriously than what it looked in the past. Ocean freight stabilization, surely, I think, is a very critical aspect of it. Something has to be done before it gets out of the control. On the airline and capacity, I will wait for Julian to make his comment because he's there, fortunately. And last mile, we will make note and we will incorporate speakers from the last mile part of it. We've started to work and along with the technology partners, but I think I have made note that the last mile is also an expectation out of the industry, so we will address it. And thank you so much, and then we look forward for your participation on the 8th and 9th as well.
For sure. Pleasure.
Thanks. Thanks. So I'll move on now to Julian, my good friend from the airline industry. Can we have Julian, please, on the...
I'm here. Hey, Satish.
Hi, Julian. Thank you for taking out the time on a Saturday. We are sorry
Pleasure.
for having you call us.
No problem. No problem.
But we knew you were an industry supporter. You always backed the Unbroken Cold Chain from the day we started. With your support, many others have started to support, and it has gone truly global. And the reason we wanted to specifically have you on this, pre-launch was, as an airline, we know that for Emirates, India is a big market and an important market from a Pharma standpoint of view. And you all are based in Dubai, so meeting the stakeholders is not always possible. And we thought this is a platform in which you get to connect with the rest of the stakeholders. So we wanted to get your viewpoint, is that whom else do you think is important to be having on the Unbroken Cold Chain in the coming sessions?
Yeah, thanks, Satish. I mean, look, as you said, I've been a huge fan of this event. You've always done a great job. It's always really brought together the key stakeholders. We can all get together and chat in one large room. So I've always found the event fantastic. With regard, and you do a great job in getting all the key shippers. As you said, for Emirates, India is our most important market where it comes to pharmaceuticals. It's our biggest single uplift that we have. The pandemic threw some real challenges at us. So, overnight, with the entire airline basically shut down, only our freighter aircraft were flying, and we had to find ways to then put our passenger planes back up in the air. And as you can imagine, the dynamics of flying a passenger plane with no passengers is very different to normal circumstances. When it comes to kind of capacity, it really, as a predominantly passenger airline, it's very much needs passengers to get back up into the sky for us to really start putting even more aircraft in the air, right? So until that happens, and we all thought that would happen, I guess, relatively quickly, but as the pandemic continued, that wasn't the case. Even now, we see countries continuing to shut down, etc., etc. So I think true capacity will come back into the skies when passengers start moving. It's interesting, in the last few weeks we have seen passenger movements start to increase a bit, especially as summer season has come, but there are still those challenges in the air. But the great thing about the event with regards to participants is that you get all the key stakeholders there. We've got you guys as the forwarder, you bring all the shippers involved, the airlines, and also, most importantly as well, the suppliers, right? The container manufacturers who do a fantastic job in helping us keep that cold chain as tight as possible.
Thanks, Julian. I think we really need to appreciate the commitment of Emirates throughout. You all flew recently with only one passenger. I don't think anyone else would have done it. And while it was on the social media on a positive side, but I think the commitment of your teams towards the Pharma has been excellent. And we thank you for also patronizing the event. And this year, as a mark of our commitment to everyone, we said this year that the event would not ask for any sponsorship whatsoever. And we made sure that all your logos are up on the portal as your commitment to COVID and India. So we thank you once again for taking out the time on a Saturday to be talking about the event. Thank you, Julian.
No, that's a pleasure, Satish. Anytime. I'm really looking forward to the event.
Sure. We'll let you know the dates in the coming days. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Mr. Tushar Jani, who is also in Dubai now currently, and he took out the time as well to give his views. So let me have Tushar. Thank you so much for being on the event once again. And last year you did come to Hyderabad after a lot of push, but your inputs in the event were really appreciated, and your presence really helped us a lot. The reason why I specifically wanted you was that India deals with multiple countries. The government talks about sending vaccine to multiple countries. But certain countries have become very, very critical for all of us in the supply chain, like US. And so what we wanted to know from you is that as a part of UBCC, which are the countries that we should be inviting in the coming days for our UBCC specifically, so that we can address any industry issues pertaining to that countries as well.
Satish, thank you for inviting me and to be part of the panel. Satish, if you have an alternate career in life anytime, you could be a great event manager. Take it from me. I mean, you do so well. You bring people, your capability to bring people together. It speaks of your goodwill in the market, and of course, agility always, play a very positive role in supply chain. I think last year it was a well-designed show. It was physical. We all could meet. We could hug. We could see, drink, eat together. And this year we are going to be at home or in offices to be together. So that's a difference. But I think we have lived with it now almost last 18 months. Or 15, 17 months. So we know now how to do that. I think so. Coming back to my little comment on the response by our industry to the COVID, I believe it's a fantastic. It is a classic case of Harvard case study, how air cargo industry have come to the challenge. Can you imagine if there was no air cargo, what would have happened into the world? All those PPE kits and ventilators and masks and all went on the initial period. It was I would say, savior. If anybody after the medical frontline warriors, it is second in my mind to save life was air cargo industry. We work, we work 365 days. We work at the airport. Our boys and girls work in that COVID situation and perform and ensure the supply chain was intact around the world. So, first of all, kudos to all our youngsters, men and women who were there on the ground and who kept going around the world, anywhere in the world. So, I would respect them. Secondly, what I learned, three things I learned. I learned, Satish, the real meaning of air. What is air? Air means now agility, not yours, but agility,
Yeah.
innovation, and resilience. All
Wow.
three was performed by the air cargo industry. And Mr. Sutch is sitting here, but it was one of the first few airlines to remove the seats and put cargo onto the floor. And I know, being an airline man, because we run an airline, one of my company, how difficult it is to change over. It's not easy for engineering and for load master and to plan and load. I think it was a fantastic innovation. Those packages gone on the seats, packages gone on the upper, hand baggage compartment. Fantastic innovation. Take it from me. Digitalization, fantastic innovation. And resilience, in within no time, airlines came forward those capacity. I mean, I know Ravi mentioned about capacity, but virtually today we operate at 95% capacity, at least in India, and that's a great show in my mind. And in terms of agility, so quick, we were lifting. I out of our terminal in Mumbai, one day we lifted 450 tons one single day, right? I've never seen. And everybody worked. We were working with 30% staff capacity, 30%. And as I said, the only sad part that my boy was in charge of vaccination did not get vaccine and he died out of COVID. And that's where my pain I look at in Africa. I think Africa is where the world needs to see. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of humanity out of those part of the world. They don't have last mile at all. And I don't know what collectively we can do together. Uh, we will need to continue to work. I believe I just mentioned to you, Zydus Cadilla, one of the chief scientists, said this vaccination will continue for a long time. So, and I believe I'm going as per our report. We are not going to see some kind of balancing of the capacity, not before 23 or maybe 24 March. So we continue to do and fight what we need to do together. So that's one. The shipping services on the maritime, you're not going to see balance coming in before 26, and come back to original because the whole supply chain has gone bigger and they will need at least 40% more container inventory around the world. And that's not going to come overnight. So that's another problem where you will see it. And the last, in terms of the country focus as far as India is concerned, our 38% pharma goes to US, 32% goes to Europe, about 8 to 10% goes to Africa. And all our vaccination currently are going to Africa of 90%. And I think so these are the people, and especially I'd say we need to get our African friends here more because they can learn last mile from us, in my mind. India had same infrastructure issue coming from an expressman and done last mile all my life. We have come long way. You yourself said sometime before that all your
Yes.
domestic vaccine distribution, you're moving by surface. You're not
Absolutely.
using air capacity. Now, I think that somewhere we need to transform that knowledge to our African friends, and I'm sure they'll pick it up very fast. Challenges are different, maybe different, but let's work together and bring Africa front. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot of. I was with Sanjeev Gadia from Astral this week in Dubai, and he was telling me we are going to have a big challenge in Africa for vaccine not being there. So let's bring our African friends. If we can now and make it focus on this. And the other part is the US. I think so. Please understand, India is 20% global market share of generic drug. We're going inching towards 40% with our own APIs and all. And the major share will go to Europe and US. So I think we now need to look at in terms of how we can do door to door from India into Europe and US. The time has come. And India will become global pharmacy. So let's change the way we ship it. Let's not ship tons of pharma. Let's ship kilos of pharma. And that should be our next endeavor as an Indian fraternity. Over to you, Satish. Thank you.
Thanks, Tushar. I think you touched upon brilliant things of air, agility, innovation, and resilience. So, as we say in the industry, I learn every day and I'm happy to learn. And I normally have words on my thing while I moderate sessions. But today I've learned from you absolutely 3 new things. So I'm happy about it. You touched upon the P2C aspect which Emirates started truly. And then you touched upon Africa. So I'm happy to say that Sanjeev has agreed to be on the show. So we've invited Sanjeev Gadia from Astral Aviation, who's a good friend of mine as well. So that is the other initiative that we have surely taken. And I think we are on the same page because Sanjeev has been added only in the last week after the inputs we got from the industry. We've tried to reach out to US FDA for the next event to ask them to come to India and spell out what are the expectations from the US FDA as well. We look forward for their participation as well and more participation from the US. You rightly mentioned about the last mile deliveries. I think if Europe can do trucking, why could India not do the same type of trucking or what stuck us? So we've taken that aspect also of including truckers into this important event of Unbroken Cold Chain. So on the 8th of July, I will ask you more questions and we will take the discussion forward. So please keep your date blocked for that particular day as well, Tushar.
Sure.
Thanks. So I'll move on now to our good friends from the airports. Saurabh, who's always been a great supporter for the Unbroken Cold Chain. So can I have Saurabh on the dais, please? Saurabh, I know that I'm coming almost last to you, but you all are an important part of this event for many years. The Unbroken Cold Chain started from Hyderabad. It has always remained with Hyderabad as a showcase event, and so we would want that to continue for the next year as well. So we are planning that 2022 also should happen out of Hyderabad. So that's the good news for you. But I think what I wanted to know from you is that the Indian airports in the past were always criticized for not having infrastructure. But I have to compliment each one of the airports, including your airport yourself, for putting up a fantastic infrastructure to support the pharma industry. So I think what is important for us to really see is what else can we do as an industry really, and how do you think such events can help airports like yours to showcase to the world the type of infrastructure that has been put together? Over to you, Saurabh.
Thanks, Satish. Very happy to be in this pre-launch show of Unbroken Cold Chain. I think in the last this is the 4th edition, but I can tell you in the last three edition which has happened, this is one event which is very close to us, which is very close to Hyderabad. And I was very happy to see today morning your message that you are in your venue where you were supposed to be. If you were doing this session, just the way we did in the last 3 times, I think we, among all the session, I feel this is one session where very lively discussions And we all come together. You somewhere while discussing, you mentioned about Tusharji coming to Hyderabad. You making him to come for this event. So I say that, yeah, I think this is one event when I look forward to meeting all of you. Even Julian, I think I'll not be meeting him this year in Hyderabad, but I'm sure I'll be meeting him again next year. So that's the significance, Satish. It's a wonderful, agglomeration of all of us coming together. And for airports, it's very important. You see from our side what we look at when we look up to for this event, it's like being an anchor, being a catalyst, making sure that all the key stakeholders, who otherwise would never get time, would never have the focus or attention to come to a major location, in a country like India, and discuss about serious business issues. And when I say serious business issue, I think I should say, when we talk about unbroken cool chain, so it's about cool chain. It's not only about pharma chain. But yes, the important element is, which you have been always bringing out, is about the perishable. I think that's one thing I just wanted to also highlight, and also talking about the operational efficiency and cost aspect. I think, the way we are today, this is one of the paramount factor, which is impacting the demand and supply. Raviji mentioned about, very rightly mentioned about the capacity. The capacity has shrunk to less than half. But the cargo is moving. If you see at India level, we are all at 90, 95, 100, and many months we are at 105% of what we were handling, in the pre-COVID times. This has obviously resulted in some kind of short-term distortion. But I think, for us to quickly, get into the regular scheme of things, it's very important for the frequencies, as you say, the passenger frequencies in its entirety to come into play. But in spite of that serious limitation, if you see how the air cargo shippers, how the air cargo consignees and the stakeholders have supported the entire industry, it is phenomenal. Without that level of support, I'm sure we couldn't have B2C economics running out of country, in and out. We couldn't have the entire presence of all the resources, people in such difficult times, there, and ensuring that the cargo gets cleared within within an hour if it's a big shipment. And it's still continuing. See the resilience. We are now into 15 months, 16 months in India. Overcoming the challenge of COVID, we still have huge priority shipments coming. As we are speaking today, I can see 100 ton of oxygen concentrators and ventilators, which has just landed in Hyderabad today morning. So what it shows is that it's not something which has which has passed by. I think there'll be maybe few more months where we all have to be together. And for airports like us, where like us in the sense I'm talking about an industry as a whole, all the airports, in the last 1 year, 1.5 years, we have significantly aligned our processes and our resources and our ability to handle the sudden spikes. Tusharji mentioned about big cargo, 400, 500 tons of cargo, shipments that we are starting handling. Even in Hyderabad, I've seen that in the last 1 year, every month, the number of days that we handle those spike, which is 500, 550, 600 ton shipment, has gone up quite high. So this is one, there are so many things that has happened, and that has happened for the good of the industry. So this is one event, I should say, where from an airport perspective, we bring forward, what are the enhancements in the capability, what are the new opportunities, in terms of doing business in India for our customers, and also for the airlines to take stock of India, to take stock of Hyderabad, and keep growing and investing in our business. So it's very significant, Satish, and some of the points related to discussions on operational efficiency and costs are also equally important. So that's my take, Satish.
Thank you. No, I think we will really give you a larger time on the 8th when I'm moderating the session, and I have specific questions to you to be asked. on that particular day, because I know a lot has been done on Hyderabad airport. But you touched upon today one important aspect is perishable. And with the input that we got from the industry, only we last year bought in perishable as one of the tracks. So we are spending more time and research on putting the white papers together for all the tracks, and we would request all of you to give us any other inputs. And Saurabh, I think what we will do as UBCC also is to tie up with more educational institutions or organizations with which you are working, and start doing some more bit of research for really, because in the day-to-day fighting we are not able to spend quality time on strategic decisions that we as organizations have to be taking. So we've also working on it. So we'll keep you posted. And thank you for your time on a Saturday. And we look forward for your presence on 8th July.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Satish.
Thanks. So I'll move on quickly now to Vijay K. Sharma, who's probably one person who I interact quite commonly, because I'm based out of Gurgaon now. Vijay, pleasure to have you on my show once again.
Thank
And
you.
last year, I know you had a struggle to get even a room in our event. So you know how oversold we sometimes get, that the owners of the airport and the hotel can't get a room in our event. So it's sometimes a tragedy, but I'm really overwhelmed when I get the type of response. Tushar was kind enough in telling that I have an alternate career. But I think where I really wanted to, touch base with it is that Delhi is one airport which is coming into the mind again and again during this pandemic times. That the way you all have got together to get multiple things moving at the time, be it oxygen concentrators or any other support function that we have. And the challenge for the airports is that the requirement of the industry keep constantly changing. And it's not that today someone wants a -20, someone will come up and say we want a -70. And what we wanted to hear from you is that out of this event like Unbroken Cold Chain, what is else that you want us to add to really bring in the stakeholders? Because we've tried and probably got all the 5 airports together, which is very difficult to happen. You've been kind enough and your team have participated. So if you can throw some light in terms of how you felt about this event when you participated last year, as well, what is your expectation this year, so that we are able to work on it. Over to you, Vijay.
Yeah, thank you, Satish. And when we talk about Unbroken Cold Chain, so really you have maintained that Unbroken Cold Chain event also, because last time you had it in Hyderabad, and this time also, but now it is in Hyderabad, it is in Delhi, it is in Mumbai, it is all over the world. So the beauty of UBCC 21 is it is everywhere, being it online. So no one can say that you are organizing it in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, Bombay, Dubai, or all. So you are organizing it everywhere. So congratulations to you and your team, and thank you so much. Actually, it is not only for airports or forwarders or airline industry. This is for the entire industry, Satish. And the beauty of this thing is that you bring things in perspective proactively rather than reacting. So that is very important today for the industry. So last UBCC 20 also, I remember that this perspective actually regarding the importance of the cold chain, which you perceived well in advance that this scenario is going to happen. So the kind of agility, not your agility only I am talking about, but the kind of agility the airports, the industry, the airlines have put across is remarkable. And I would also say that the government perspective which has come into this, making the entire supply chain work and integrated, was remarkable. And what from this year, actually, what I see is rather than going into what did not go well during the last pandemic season, because everyone knows it was a highly turmoil kind of a situation, but how the industry recouped, how the major airports played their role, what are the key learnings from there, and what can be adopted going and looking forward. So that is very important and critical, that learnings learned from the past have to be very properly and meticulously put in perspective going forward. So basically the idea is not to be reactive, but being proactive. So in these terms, I think the role airports have played, the hub airports, the major airports all around the country, what good practices they have brought in is an important aspect, not only for Indian airports, but for the airports around the world to adopt and see. Also, what other airports have done so that learnings can be adopted at our airports. That is also which is important. And one aspect is very important, Satish, that how the people played their role at airports, at the airline industry, because this people element is very critical. Because
Absolutely.
nothing was impacted, only the people were impacted. And these were the people who actually delivered what made the air cargo industry and the entire supply chain robust and big living. So there were casualties happening, but the supply chain was intact and it was well established. Not even a single, it remained unbroken. I would rather say it remained unbroken. So it is not only about the cold chain; the entire supply chain was unbroken. And now it is time that how we can bring that kind of agility, how we can invest in future in terms of our people, in terms of of their skills, so that the reaction time when such kind of a event comes in, the reaction time is minimum. So at Delhi airport, we were able to connect with support of both our terminal operators, the airlines, and the entire thing. So I think that is very important. And last thing which I would like to touch upon is the culture of collaboration is very important, which actually played a very crucial role in making the entire supply chain work, because that was the key fuel in the joints of the chain that made the joints very movable, and there was no inflammation at all in the supply chain. How the handover and takeover of the cargo, the vaccines happened was seamless, and that was, I would say, there was a pre-planning, but when the execution came in, it was the collaboration which really worked. So I think touching upon the collaboration part in your track of things would also play a critical role. So that is from my side. Satish, over to you.
Thank you. So I think you touched upon very, very critical aspects when compared to the inputs given by the other colleagues. Is a key learnings that aspect that you touched upon. So I think that is something which we are trying to see in the panel number one as to what is the key learnings that have happened. So I will make note and probably stress upon those aspects when Vandana, you and Saurabh as well as Tushar and rest of them are on the panel. You rightly touched upon the aspect of people, how critical people are and what people can do. So reaction times. And then the last panel that we are doing, this time we adopted the culture of collaboration and the power of collaboration really. So I think we are going to put that aspect more strongly, and I will ask the moderators to dwell more about collaboration aspect as well. So I think your inputs are very useful, and since we are already 54 minutes into the session and we've covered all of us, what I will do now is ask Karvia Rana to really now do the summarization and take the conclusion together. So over to you, Karvi.
Sure, sir. Well, we hope that UBCC 2021, which is set to take place on the 8th and 9th of July, writes its success story by being much bigger and better than the previous editions and meets the expectations of the industry. I would like to thank all our speakers who joined us today for this pre-launch event and gave a preview of what the event will be like. I would also like to thank our audiences for joining us today. And I would like to inform you that you can register yourself for the event UBCC 2021 through the link in the description or by visiting www.ubcc.in. Hoping to see you all at this virtual delight on the 8th and 9th of July. Now we'll be leaving you with the glimpse of 2020, with the glimpse of UBCC 2020. Don't forget to register and share this with your industry colleagues.